Hello everyone, welcome back. So in today's session, we are going to see how we can generate the Git new SSH key and also adding that into your GitHub repository or the GitHub settings. And also we will see how multiple systems or multiple computers you can configure so that you can pull and push from multiple computers. So there are two ways actually to do that. One is actually like you have to configure into your Git a specific machine from where actually you can pull and push. The another thing is that if you want to add any collaborative members or your team member or your friends to kind of push or pull, then also you can do that. Now for at every Git, they need the SSH key at least to be entered into the GitHub settings so that it will recognize who is the owner, and then that will allow you to always push or pull the code base from your particular system. Okay, so this is a pretty new Mac system which we are using, and then I will show you how to really generate the new SSH key and also add it into your GitHub repository or GitHub account actually. So at this moment I have the Git installed on my system. So we have already discussed how to install Git on a new Mac system. You can refer to that. Now at this moment the Git actually given the documentation on how to generate this new SSH key into your Mac, Windows and Linux operating system. It's pretty much same, just the commands are only different. So to do that, like the first thing is that we need to generate a new SSH key. Okay, so for this I need to open the terminal and then I need to run this command. Now here if you see that it gives you an option for a single account, but if you see that I have two accounts. One is actually this is one account where Sunil Patro, which is my personal account, and then I have kept a QAB box as my for my YouTube videos or something like for just practice purpose. I have given to these two. Now what is happening, I don't want to keep one user for both of these accounts whenever I'm doing a push or pull. Okay, so it means that when I want to access any of the repositories into this account, I want to have this username. The same thing from the same machine or laptop, whenever I'm dealing with this particular repos, I want to have this username. So it means that multiple Git accounts, how you will handle into a single machine, that also we will see. Now if you see that I have already an SSH key generated, so I will show you that. So if you go to the settings and then you go to the SSH key here section, and you can see that it is already added actually. So this is from one of my other Mac machine, but this is a new laptop, so I want to reconfigure here as well the SSH key so that I can push and pull from that machine, and also I can do from this machine as well. So that, or maybe tomorrow if this machine I'm not longer using that, so I will have at least one SSH key that is present on my GitHub account. So that is the main purpose of that. Okay, so we are going to see two things. One is that how I can make this system to generate the SSH key for these two accounts, and also maintain these two accounts into my single machine so that I can switch back to different accounts whenever I'm dealing with their repositories. That is what we are going to see. Okay, so for this, I mean these steps are pretty much same, only you need to actually use this particular command. So for this, what I'm going to do, I will open my terminal and I will copy this particular SSH key gen. Now this will automatically come this command whenever you have a machine, so you don't need to worry about that. You can even, I mean once you have installed the Git, then you don't need to really worry about that. Now there are two ways, like if you would have done a classic approach RSA algorithm, that you would have used that, but now they are introducing the ED25519 algorithm, which is bit advanced, where the key numbers got reduced. I think it is taking up to 64 characters or something, but it is more powerful than your RSA key or the algorithm, okay, to encrypt or to to encrypt your key. So I will be using this one actually, so I will copy this and then just open it, and my Git is already installed here. So here you need to change your email address to give. So first I will take my first accounts, that is this particular email address. Okay, that's it, and just you need to do like this. And here it is asking which file you want to save this key. By using this ed algorithm, it will generate a key actually. So where you want to save it. So the approach is that you can always keep it into your user folder, like this is users, then this is my user folder. There is a .ssh directory will be created. Under that, this will be one file. Under this, the key will be generating. But because I'm maintaining two different accounts, I will just rename this, and let's say I will keep this name for my Sunil Patro 1985 account. That's it. You just need to click on enter, and it will ask the passcode or like to enter a new password or something. At this moment, I don't want to do anything. Okay. So as you can see that the key is got generated. Now the key is generated and saved under a new file called as the same file name only, but the extension is .pub. Pub means public folder. Okay, I will show you that as well. But at this moment, let me use my another account to generate another key. So on the same command prompt or the terminal, you can use the same SSH key gen, but in this case, it would be my other account's email address or the username, whichever I'm using that. So I will put this one and I will say enter, and it is asking where you want to save it. For sure, I don't want to save into this default, but I will say that I will rename a bit. So how I have done before an underscore skp, the same thing I will say that QAB. That's it, just to maintain two different file structure actually, or the files. And no password, you can simply enter it. Now I have two different files got generated with the keygen already. Let me show you that as well. But before to that, I need to check another thing actually here. So if you come back here, so let's come back into the down. I will show you all those things as well. So you can see that I need to add this SSH key also into my keychain. I really don't want to do into this keychain, but I want to add these two files which it got created into the SSH add actually to the private key. You can see here. Okay, so for this actually I have created a simple documentation here, like this is what actually we have done that. Now after that, you need to just enter this command SSH-add and the files. Now I have two files, right? So that is what we are going to do. So I will say SSH add, okay, and then so like I will show you why am I telling that. Now if I put -l to list out, you will see there is no identities yet added. So to the SSH agent, I need to add those files. So for that reason, I will say SSH-add, and I will put a tilde sign and /.ssh, okay, because that is on my user folder already. Okay, / and I will put id underscore. I'll simply copy paste that. Which one? This file actually. This is actually, you know, I'll tell you that. So there are actually two files created when I did this one. One is id underscore ed underscore skp. This is my private key. And then whenever I am entering the passcode, right, then there is a public folder is creating, public file is also. So you have to add that private one, not the public one. So I will just simply say that this, and you can see identity added. The same thing let's do for my other account as well, which is the id underscore ed underscore qav, and I will enter. Now if I put the SSH-add l, right, you can see that two keys got added into the agent. So fine, I'm done with that step. Now let me show you this file, the folder structure. So I will go to my SK Patro, that is my user account, and then showcase the hidden folders or the directories, and you will see that there is a .ssh directory would have created. Let me see that. Here you can see SSH got created, and you can see that the file structure one is private, one is public, again one is private, public, because I have two accounts, right? Each account will generate two files. Okay, now let's go back to this documentation which says that we need to create a config file. Here you can see, if the config file is not created, you can create it by using this command. So let me use this touch command. Okay, so I will put like this, and under my .ssh I want to create a config file, and the config file would have been created. Now let's go to the Finder, and you can see the config file got created. Now I will open it into any of my preferred editor. So I will always prefer my Sublime Text to open anything. So as you can see, it's an empty, so don't worry about that. We will be adding some content into this. You can see that this is the content they are adding, so no worries. I will show you that here as well. I have done this, and I will simply copy paste this, and I will explain you what am I going to do here. Okay, you can see that so host, I need to provide the host actually. Host in this sense, just to identify which account you are using. Let's say that first one I want to use for QAB, that is my QAB box account. And then what is host name? For sure you can have multiple host names, right? Like you can use the GitLab, GitHub, or Bitbucket. All these are Git repository providers, right? So at this moment I am showcasing the GitHub, but you can use the same concept for your Bitbucket and also into the GitLab as well. Okay, the user is get preferred authentication, public key, and then identity file. What is identity file? That individual files or the private keys which we generated, right? So for sure this is not ID underscore RSA because we are using the ED one, right? So I will come back here, and this is my private, right? So I will copy this and open my this one, and here I will enter it. You can see this is my one private key. So the same thing I will copy paste. So how many accounts are there? That many entries you need to do. And instead of QAB, here I will put it as a SKP. Obviously the host is GitHub only, and public key, and instead of QAB I will say that SKP. Now you can see that for each account there are two private files got generated, right? And I am using that here. So whenever I will be using, instead of GitHub, whenever I will use qab.github.com, it will be considered as this particular private key. Okay, now this is not ended here. The last step which I will be showcasing you guys is that what about this public key? We are not using anywhere. In the config we have used this private key, right? But what about this public? So there is one step that you will be linking to your GitHub settings. Now if I open this one here, again open it into a Sublime Text editor. So always open with, and if you see that this is my public key actually. So you have to simply copy this one and then open your account. Now your account is QAB. This is what I have copied from QAB, right? So you need to go, let me expand this to go to the settings. So go to the settings here, and then you will see SSH. And here I have already added from my another system, right? Now I will create a new SSH key, and I will just name something here just to identify whatever the machine that I'm using, and I will be copy pasting this, and I will say add. Now you can see I have two different keys got generated, one from machine 1, one from machine 2. So if one machine now I'm no longer using, or I have uninstalled the Git, or for some reason I given to someone or something, then I will have one SSH key generated for this particular Mac machine. Now the same thing, I will go to my public key of another account which it got created. The same thing, I will open it into the Sublime Text, and I will copy this particular key, and I will open my other account, and this is this one. Go to the settings the same way only, and then you have to go to the SSH. Obviously it is already created here. Okay, so this was my classic one, the RSA one. This is my ED one from my other machine, but now I'm creating for this machine. So the same thing, I will just put Mac 14 or whatever the name, or even if you are using Windows, you can use Windows. And then I will just create add SSH key. That's it. I can delete any one of this if I'm no longer use that. But at this moment, this is what for a new machine, new account, you can do it, or an existing account also you can do like this. Fine. Okay, so now I'm done with my config where I have created two different account sections, and I'm giving an alias to this particular GitHub account where the private key is this one, and for this private key I'm giving this as my nickname or alias name. So wherever I'm using the github.com account of Sunil Patro, I will be using skp.github.com. The same thing for this QAB box account, I will be using qab.github.com. Okay, so now there are 3 steps. If you see, totally we have done a 3-step. That is what I have mentioned into this. So first thing is that you need to do the key gen, generate the key by using the SSH-keygen by giving your email address. If there are 2 email addresses, then one by one you can do by renaming this file, because by default it generates ID_RSA or ID_ED, that characters. Fine. Now the second thing is that you need to add that to your agent by using the SSH-add command. Now the last but not least is to generate or create the config file with how many accounts you have. And the final thing is that take that particular public key into your GitHub settings, into the the SSH section actually there. That's it. I think there are 4 steps you need to perform. Okay. So now pretty much we have configured this Git for multiple accounts into a single machine, or if you are using multiple machines, repeat the same steps. Fair enough. Now how do I really do the push pull? Just to try if this is really working fine or not. So let me go to any of the repository, let's say Appium topics. Now I need to clone this one into this machine. So here, now how to clone it? You have to go to the repository, go to the code section here, and you have multiple options to grab the destination path of this particular project. I always prefer the SSH, so I'm copying this one. Now let's say that I will be going into my personal folder, and here let's say that I will create, and I will say that my projects, and here I will be creating another folder, let's say, and I will just distinguish this one and right click. I will open that particular path into my terminal. Now this is again another Max feature that you can right click and you can get it. I think in case of Windows you have to go to the address bar and type cmd, then the command prompt will be opening with this directory path. Okay, fine. So I will close it. So what I'm going to do here, I will say git clone, and I will have to take this path right here. So I will copy this one. Now here what am I going to do, I won't be taking this default github.com. See, this is my host name actually. So whenever I'm using this user for this github.com, what I should be using as per my host, the alias that I have used, instead of simple github.com, I will be using skp. So whenever I will use skp.github.com here, right, after git @ now the private key of this account will be enabled actually here. That is what the magic actually it is doing. And I will just enter, and it is asking that you want to connect to that. So I will just say yes. Okay, so if you see into this path, right, it would have already created or pulled that particular code, and you can see that this code is now created. So now here, if I say git config username, I think it is not coming anything. Now if I want to edit something, right, I need to really pass on my username and the user email, and this is what I have already explained into one of the Git cheat sheet into my blog. Actually, you can refer to that if for the first time, if you are picking any of your new repository or an existing repository and you want to edit anything or push something, then you can use that. So I will say that git config, and I will say user.name. Now do not do that git config global. Actually, global means your system wide. Now I want to specify the username and the the username, user email specific to each directory. So it means that now under IPM, now if you see that I have this particular directory, right? So I will switch back to this particular directory, okay? And then here I will be setting my git username. So user.name, and I will put the username as my email address. So I will put this because I want to see whenever I'm doing any commits or any push, right, from this system, this particular repo appium topics should include this as my username actually. And then the same thing I will be doing. Actually, username was not that. Actually, username is Sunil Patra only, and then the username is this one actually. User email. There are two configs I need to set it up. So config user email, and then this is what. Now if you just go and check email, you can see that, and the same thing if you put name, you will, oops, sorry, that was not, Control C, and you can see that now the config is set. Now I have cloned already that here. Now let's say I'm going to change anything here. Now at this moment, if I put git status, right, there is actually these two files got generated. For sure I can git ignore this actually. So let me open this git ignore. So at this moment I don't have Visual Studio Code actually downloaded. So let me quickly download the Visual Studio Code and open this and change something, and I will push it. Okay, so the Visual Studio Code is now downloaded. It's a pretty fast to download that, and it is also lightweight. So I will go to this open folder and go to this section, my projects, Appium, and open this one. Okay, so I trust this, and then whatever the settings you can do, like increase the font size and everything, but that is not really which we are going to do at this moment. And at this moment, let me not install anything. So these two things I want to actually git ignore that, let's say. So I will open this and I will say that .ds, let's see what is that. So .ds underscore store, right? So store, and if you can see that that particular file is gone and there is nothing. Now you can see there is only one change, the git ignore, which I got changed at this moment. Now I want to push this particular change. Now if I go to this and just say git status, you will see that instead of these two files, right, now the git ignore file become your changed log actually here. So this is the file that I have changed now. So simple thing, git add dot, and now if I put git status, you can see, oops, sorry, not this, and I will say that git status, you can see that it is already added into your staging area, but it is not yet committed actually. So for this I will say git commit -m, and I will say that update git ignore for ds store, some name I'm giving here. So the commit is already done. So there is nothing really need to do. Now the final thing is that I need to push this actually. So because I cloned, I don't really need to do git add remote URL and all these things, right? Now if you see that it will already will give me that. You can see that git remote -b, because when I did git clone, right, that time this is already set. If it is a new project, then you need to do git remote add URL. This is a git concept actually. So now I will say that git push origin, I think, let's see, main or master, this one, the branch actually. So this is main, right? So I will say that git push origin main. Now if I do this, and you can see that now it is already pushed actually. There is no conflicts because it's a fresh project that I cloned, and immediately I pushed that. Now if I go to here, and it would have been pushed a new commit. You can see that 1 minute ago. And if you go to your git ignore, you can see that the new entry got created here. But if I would not have done that particular that SSH key and all those things, right, then I would not have able to push these changes actually. But see, this is not the case. Like, let's say that you have 5 team members or 5 friends that who want to use this particular project, then you don't really need to ask them to create the SSH key from each machine and then come back to your own account and you need to add that keygens for each machine. Not really. What you can do that, now let's say that, see, this particular keygen, whatever I generated, this is for this entire GitHub account actually, not each particular repo. But when you are working in a collaborative environment, right, you don't want to give entire GitHub account actually to them. Probably you will give couple of repositories from this particular account, right? Let's say that you want to collaborate among couple of members of our friends. What you can do, you can go to the specific repository, go to the settings, and there is this collaborators option is there, and you can add people, you can invite. Let's say that this is the QAB box account is there. Let's say that QAB box also want to collaborate with this particular account, so you can add people. You can like simply use their username or their, you can see that I think whenever I'm searching it is coming also. So you can simply say that add QAB box into this repository. And now when you do that, I think you will get a here as a notification. Let me see that, see here, and you can see that Appium Topics had invited you. So if you join it, then by using this particular email address, you can even contribute to this particular repo also. So that is how you need to do. Okay, so that's the difference between accessing the entire GitHub account or a specific repository or giving as a collaborative access. And once you do that, I think you can even like click on this and you can like do remove access whenever you don't need, or even you can manage this particular repository, because I think there is a limit because it is public. I mean, there is no limit actually to add the collaborators, but if it is a private account, private repository, I think up to 2-3 collaborators only you can add it for a free tier account. So that is how it is differentiated. But then our main intention was to understand for a new machine, if you have a GitHub account, how you will generate the private key, how you will generate the public key and add it to your GitHub settings. So that's pretty much it actually for today. Hope this particular session is useful if you are a new GitHub user or you are using a new machine. So stay tuned and do subscribe to this YouTube channel. We will be seeing some more interesting topics in our upcoming sessions. Thank you for watching.